I'd like to have a conversation with the person that I was about 3 years ago, a little bit over 3 years ago, when we decided to leave the place that we've been living. And the reason why I want to have a chat with that young man is because it's not uncommon that I meet people who are in essentially the same position. And when I look back and I think about all of the things I didn't know, at times I think to myself, man, it would be nice to be able to go back there and have a chat with him and just give him the heads up about some things. But that's not possible. But what is possible is that I can speak to the many other people out there who are in the same position, the same headspace, and trying to make the same decisions about what they're going to do with their future. As a lot of you know, we lived in a place that became globally notorious for its tyrannical overreach. It took liberties with its people that no country ever should even consider. And it's left a financial legacy that future generations will have to grapple with. During that time, it also embraced a number of ridiculous ideologies and dogmas that will plague that country for many, many years to come. So when we looked at all of the factors that we had issues with, we were very firmly of the view that it wasn't a place that we wanted to spend the rest of our lives, and definitely it wasn't a place that we wanted to condemn our children to have to live in as at least their only option. We wanted to give ourselves the opportunity to enjoy the latter parts of our lives in places that resonated with us. We also wanted to give our kids the opportunities and options that come with living in a different country and learning a different language. The only thing that we were really 100% sure about was that we didn't want to live in that place anymore. And the only other thing that we were definitely sure about is that we weren't going to replace it with another place that was lorded over by the same deviant family that runs that particular set of countries, because they definitely all sing from the same songbook. And you can see the trajectory of all those countries that belong to that little enclave. And let's just say that I don't think that story ends well. So we asked two questions of anyone that would listen to us. Where should we go and why should we go there? Now, when I think about that person that I was 3 years ago, if I was speaking to him now, I'd say, well, go on Our Life in Paraguay and listen to all of that clown's videos. But you'd really have to wade through, I think, over 100 videos now. But if you watch them all, you'd probably get a pretty good guess of why we would say Paraguay is a compelling place to go. And hopefully I'll give you some reasons as to why that's the case. But I thought that, you know, there's a lot of guff, there's a lot of blah blah, both on our channel and many others, and it can become totally overwhelming, and I understand that. We meet a lot of people who are in analysis paralysis. They're just overwhelmed with information and different views from different people who are saying different things about different countries. Where do you start? I totally and utterly get it. So my mission with this video was to cut through all that and break it down to the 6 main reasons why I would say, to your question where you should go, I would say Paraguay. Ease of setup. The ability to come to Paraguay and set yourself up with a rental property, car, get 2-year temporary residence, be able to get around on public transport or Bolt or Uber. The ease of setting up in Paraguay has been unparalleled in terms of our experience in any country. To be able to come to a country and so quickly be established is an absolute blessing and quite rare. None of the countries that we have had anything to do with comes even close, and it is something that cannot be underestimated. And we talk quite a bit about it on this channel, but I would absolutely put that way on top of my list. Safety and hospitality of the people. So high on the list, because if a place isn't safe and hospitable, well, you wouldn't want to be there. But it's more than just a thing to tick off the list. Oh yeah, it's got to be safe and hospitable. Yeah, right. It really has a resounding impact on the degree to which you will either settle or not settle in a place. Because you can go to many places around the world and they can have so many things going for them. But if anyone in the party that you move with has an unsettling experience, or they even sense that there's a possibility of that, it can pretty much cancel out everything else. You need to feel a level of safety and a degree to which people are hospitable. They want you to be here. Well, the great news is in Paraguay, people do want you to be here. They are generally very hospitable, very kind, patient with those of us who have limited ability with the language. So safety and hospitality is a massive part of finding a country that you're going to spend significant time in. And thankfully, to that person who I was 3 years ago, Paraguay definitely ticks that box. It's a very cost-effective place. Paraguay is the kind of place, if you want to spend a fortune, no problem, you can do it here. But likewise, and as I've detailed in, I think it was the previous video, you can also really dial down your costs here. Really essential when you're looking to try before you buy with any country, because when you arrive in a foreign place that is unfamiliar to you, you can very quickly be burning through the dollar, guarani, dinero, and it can become a stressful thing in itself. And when you're in that state of, oh shit, I don't want to spend too much, and you know, it can really mess with your sense of balance and your ability just to relax and go with things, because there's so many other things that you want to be focusing on and looking at and just thinking about, and money isn't one of them. You don't want to be worried about your money situation. And thankfully, if that is a dynamic for you, unless you are made of money, then you're going to want to be counting not every cent, but definitely keeping a close eye on what's going out. And you can live a very comfortable, cost-effective life. And then you can get on with the more important things like finding your way there and identifying whether it's the place for you. It is a really well-positioned country when it comes to being able to access neighbouring countries. You can go to Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, Bolivia, and other places without too much drama at all. So it's a really good central staging point. You might be thinking, you know, what I've heard about Paraguay is all good and well, but you know, I like the nightlife and I like to boogie. So you might want to try out Brazil as a place that you spend some time in, or it might be your forever place, who knows. But whatever you decide, you can come to Paraguay and you can try those other places out before you buy. So its geographical location makes it an ideal option if anyone out there is in that position I was 3 years ago and saying, well, where do I go? This place is real. And why is that on my list? What do you mean by real? Well, Paraguay is not party central. It doesn't have the best beaches in the world. Come to think of it, it actually doesn't have beaches. And it's generally what you would consider to be a middle of the road safe country. Now that might not rock everybody's world, and I get that. But it's a good place to start. It's a good entry point. It's a soft landing in just about every way. But there's also some other dynamics that come with situations where you land in a country that in some ways isn't what you consider to be real. We've been to certain places in our travels that have been almost otherworldly in terms of how beautiful they were, for example. And that can kind of create an issue in itself, because we left the place that we're living in for very specific reasons. But the places that we've been to that have been astonishingly beautiful and had other really amazing features that are really particular to that country, well, we've really loved those things, but we've never taken our eye off the ball. We haven't lost track of the reasons why we left the place that we left. And definitely, we didn't leave the place that we were living in to find somewhere with better scenery or better beaches, because those things were definitely covered in the place that we lived in. But when you move with one or more people, or definitely when you move with teenagers, if you go somewhere that's got killer beaches and an awesome nightlife and partying and all the things that really resonate, sometimes you can find yourself in situations where that becomes a new benchmark. And some people in the family might say, well, wherever we end up spending significant time in, it's going to have this and that. So the difficulty is when you've got a list of criteria that you've identified when you left the place that you were living in, and then on top of that you add X and Y and Z, it can create dynamics that ultimately end up in frustration. But when it comes to Paraguay, you're not going to be so much faced with that, because we love the place, but it doesn't have extremes. And so we're not extremely in love with one aspect or the other. It kind of gets B's in every subject, so to speak. Perhaps there are some things that we say are exemplary here, not the least of which is the people. As you know, in just about every video I make, I think I mention how much I love Paraguayan people. And I'm not just saying that. I think that that's really a standout feature of this country, and something that would actually be a not negotiable for me if I went to other countries. So thankfully I've found my place. But it's just something to keep in mind, that it's a good place to start, just to moderate people's expectations, maybe your own expectations, because if you go from here to some of the bordering countries, you're going to find some really stunning fill in the blanks beaches or party life or whatever it is you're looking for, and that's fine, but at least you've started from a pretty moderate base and you can go from there. But you're not going somewhere that really just captures your heart and then you realise that for certain reasons that place isn't viable, because sometimes what can happen is you can end up in the in-between space. If some of the people in the party just say that beaches are non-negotiable or whatever the feature that they're really hooked in, well, it can become a real challenge. So I think starting in a place that's real, authentic, and not extreme can be a real benefit. And if you like what you see in Paraguay, there is a pathway to stay here. You can apply for a temporary residence for 2 years, and generally that all goes off without a hitch, as long as there's no skeletons in your closet or any such thing, but it generally goes off fine. And then if you like the place, you can stay here for a further 10 years if you get your permanent residence. And that again is relatively straightforward. That should not in any way be taken for granted, because we've been to other places, some of which we really loved. But one of the deal breakers was that you have to do border runs every 3 months. Or if you get your scheduler, you have to go and report to a government agency. Last time I checked, it was every 6 months. That is completely untenable as far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to commit myself to any place that requires me to every few months seriously knock on the door and ask the question as to whether it's still cool for me to be here. It's different if you're on a holiday or even an extended holiday, but if you're looking to permanently relocate somewhere, I don't see how that's viable. Some people do it, a lot of people do it. They'll have a whole life in a country and they'll be leaving it every few months to do a border run, or applying every 6 months or so to renew their cedula. Sounds like a temporary arrangement to me. Yeah, I'd stay there for a while. I'd consider it to be a very long, slow travel or whatever the latest trend is these days, but that wasn't us. We weren't looking just to go and spend some significant time somewhere. We want to live somewhere. We're going to get our permanent residence soon. That goes for 10 years. And who knows, that might see us out, or at least me. And if it doesn't, well, I'll front up in another 10 years' time, and by that time I'll be part of the furniture. So Paraguay gives a level of certainty about your tenure that is a very rare thing. There might be other places that are that generous, maybe some that are more, but I absolutely do not know one myself. And it's something that is a non-negotiable for us, because if you don't have security of tenure, then you're really just on a holiday, and that's not acceptable for us. And the person that I was 3 years ago, a little bit more than that. So hopefully that achieves the objective of this video, and that was to cut through the guff and the fluff and to talk to that person of 3 years ago and give them the bare bones, the 6 things that would immediately come to my mind to anyone who is in that state of analysis paralysis, because there's a lot of people still in that state. And although I'm sort of focusing on people who were as committed as what we were, there are also many people that are just looking to reset. They've just had enough of the insanity, and maybe are just looking to just recharge the batteries over a year or two and just go somewhere and just recalibrate. I think this video also is kind of relevant to that, because I couldn't think of a better option than coming to a place like Paraguay and getting a temporary residence, putting down some even temporary foundations, and just hang out, go and check out the bordering countries and have some fun and relax and see where life takes you from there. Sounds like a plan anyway, but I hope that is useful to someone out there. I know that there are a lot of people who are in kind of the similar mindset. I know that because I see the numbers who are leaving the place that we were previously living, for example, and my goodness, they might have to build another airport to accommodate them all, because they're just streaming out, obviously looking for something else, something that's not addressed in that place, or something that they see ahead for it. And if they're doing that, well, they definitely align with what we're seeing and what we believe. The world seems to be heading in a certain way, and those countries seem to be precariously perched and being driven in a direction that I'm really glad to distance myself from. But hey, that's just me and my family. And ultimately, that's all you can do and work on, is what you want to do, where you want to be, and the rest is up to, well, in my case, God, or to you, whatever you subscribe to. But I'm sure you'll find your path, and I wish you the very best. And until next time, take care. Ciao.